Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. The game at the London Stadium is just about to get underway. It's UEFA Europa Conference League Group B. West Ham taking on Silkeborg, first against second in the group, but West Ham know that if they avoid defeat this evening, then first place is mathematically confirmed. As it stands, they're 6 points clear of their visitors this evening, and they'll be feeling very confident after having a 100% start in the group so far. 4 wins out of 4, and West Ham in front of their home crowd, they'll feel very confident this evening, already trying to press here as the visitors play back towards their own goalkeeper. But it's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and Ben Rogers taking you through the action. Ben, you've seen all of West Ham's games in the Conference League this season. They should be strong favourites this evening.
Yeah, you'd expect it, wouldn't you? But of course, Silkeborg's second in the group at the moment. They're no mugs. I mean, 5-0 win last time out against FCSB off the back of the 5-0 win in that reverse fixture as well. So they're a team that can obviously score goals for fun. West Ham know all about that. They scored 2 against West Ham in West Ham's narrow victory in Denmark. But I do fancy, the Hammers will be just a bit stronger today. They've named a strong lineup, haven't they? But Silkeborg, they've seen the results elsewhere in this group already. Anderlecht and FCSB with the 2-2 draw, of course, knowing a win will secure their qualification.
Absolutely. They've certainly got a lot to play for as well, the visitors. But I think we're both saying before kick-off that we probably expected West Ham to have made a few more changes. It is a very strong team, so David Moyes does want to maintain this good form in the European competition. A free kick to West Ham just inside their own. I'll just remind you of the two teams very quickly. It is Alphonse Areola in goal for West Ham, a back four of Vladimir Tufal, Ben Johnson, Angelo Ogbonna and Naif Orgerd making his debut this evening. 3 in midfield, Pablo Fornals, Connor Coventry and Emerson, with Manuel Lanzini, Side Benhrama and Mikael Antonio as the attacking 3 for Silkeborg. It is Nikolai Larsen in goal with a back 4 of Robin Dahl Onström, Tobias Salquist, Joel Felix and Lucas Klitten. The 3 in midfield are Stefan Thordharsen, Robert Goyani and Anders Klinge, with Soren Tengsthest, Sebastian Jorgensen and Niklas Helenius as the 3 up front. But certainly from a West Ham's point of view, if they keep the ball early on and put pressure here on the visitors, and certainly if they score first, you'd fancy them to be in control then. Yeah,
you'd fancy them, wouldn't you? Like you say, if they can score early and really get the Danish opposition on their back foot, it could really be a really long night for the away side. But, like I've said, I expect Silkeborg to really come at them and give them the go. It's what they've done in every other game so far. They're not really a team that likes
they won't benefit from sitting back either, because it will just encourage West Ham to get forward. So it's certainly in their interest to try and get a hold of the ball. But certainly after 2.5 minutes, it is West Ham seeing most of it. And when Silkeborg are in possession, they're just playing back towards their own goalkeeper. But Lanzini now down the left-hand side feeds the ball into Ogbonna, who allowed himself to get a bit further forward. It's with Benhrama now, playing it back towards the halfway line. Connor Coventry with the start in midfield this evening, playing it short to Johnson. It could be a bit frustrated, really, Ben Johnson. He was pretty much nailed on in the Premier League 11 for West Ham at one point, but David Moyes has just mixed things up a little bit. A ball towards the Silkeborg penalty area is cleared, and it's out for a throw down the right-hand side. There we can see Kent Nielsen, the Silkeborg manager. He looks a little bit frustrated about something, doesn't he? But his side so far just sitting back as West Ham in possession. Now with Manuel Lanzini. Always like to see so much more from Lanzini. He's got everything in his locker really to be such a difficult player to play against. So much ability with the passing and the shooting, but injuries and just lack of consistency for him, I think.
Yeah, you've said it nailed on there. Lack of consistency from Lanzini on the ball. Sometimes he's got moments of magic. Think back to that Tottenham additional time goal a few seasons ago. And it's the quality that he possesses on the ball. Not many players could strike a ball as clean as that, but Mikael Antonio's done well here.
Well, he has. I mean, the visitors were expecting a free kick. Our referee, Johnny Haita from Finland, seemed to let it go and then brings the free kick back after a good few seconds. I mean, there was a bit of contact, certainly, and Antonio would argue that all he was trying to do was win the ball, but Robert Goyani certainly seems to get caught there as well. And the referee seems fairly happy to have given that free kick. It looked to me as though he was going to let play go on. I don't know if it was the fact that it seemed like it was a head injury, or maybe he got a little whisper from VAR there, but it is going to be a free kick to Silkeborg. He's just asking that Goyani goes off the pitch momentarily. It's either that or he had some jewellery on him that he wasn't supposed to have.
I think he has just thrown a necklace actually to one of the coaches on the sideline. But Yeah, I think Gianni's got away with one there because it did seem to be too much in it, and Antonio just seemed to be too strong for the central midfielder. And Emerson had West Ham had a man over there in Emerson, so it was almost dangerous times already for the Danish side.
Frustration there for West Ham. They haven't seen a replay of that challenge yet. Didn't look to us looking at it live as though there was much in it though. And then a ball down the left-hand side here for Silkeborg, goes straight out for a throw to foul. Takes this and goes back towards Johnson. Being closed down there by Jorgensen. Areola now at the edge of his own 6-yard box. Square here to Olgerd. Interesting actually that looks as though Olgerd's got into the centre-back role and it's Ogbonna playing at left-back. Certainly that's what it looks like from the start.
Yeah, I did just see that, Paul, but I actually thought, because a lot of people thinking Aagaard could be the man in left-back, but Ben Johnson, I've seen him play there a few times as well, so perhaps whether David Moyes is just trying to try that out and see which sort of position between the three of them will be best, because they can all play on that left side, that left full-back role. But interesting enough, it seems Ogbonna, probably the slowest out of the three. I
was going to say, I mean, when you've got pacey Johnson, who's very good with his left foot, and then you've got Olgerd, who seemed like he was being positioned into that left-back role, but it is Ogbonna with the captain's armband, who is in that left-back role. He's on the ball now as well, being closed down here by Tengstedt. Goes back towards Olgerd. Looked up, thought about a long ball, but Silkeborg, in fairness, are playing quite a high offside line, so there's not going to be too much joy from West Ham trying to play one over the top unless they can really time it perfectly. It's Ogbonna's ball down the left-hand side, and then an attempted pass there from Lanzini to find Benhrama. That one is cut out. It is Silkeborg in possession now in midfield. Ball played back towards Klingate. Closed down here by Pablo Fornals. And they're forced further and further back. Here are the visitors, back towards goalkeeper Nikolai Larsen. Clears that one just before Antonio gets towards them. It's headed down towards the right-hand side. Here is Thodharsen now. Back towards Goyani. His ball over the top is easily cut out, though, by Ogbonna. That's sometimes the problem for sides. I'm not just going to say it's Silkeborg, but it's when teams don't have much possession away from them. As soon as they get it, they feel like they have to do something with that first or second pass, and sometimes it's better just to hold on to it.
Just trying to force initiative, aren't they? And they've got a big striker in Helenius, so I can see why they're opting to go long. He's obviously a big, strong, physical presence, but the only thing I slightly worry about for them is, like you say, going long. It's playing into the hands of West Ham, because if Helenius can't bring that first initial ball down, the West Ham centre-back's going to be straight onto him. They're going to have possession of the ball, and then West Ham are going to come again, and that's what's happening at the moment.
Well, here come West Ham now with a good ball down the right-hand side. As Tufau tried to chest that one off Clitton to try and still get a ball into the box. Couldn't quite manage it, but it does go out for a throw to West Ham, level with the edge of the Silkeborg penalty area. Short ball here from Tufau to Pablo Fornals. Tries to hook a ball into the box, aimed at more or less where Benhrama was stood, but that one is headed away back into midfield. West Ham in possession again. Here is Saeed Benhrama. Finds Emerson down the left-hand side. In towards Lanzini. Even when Emerson is a midfielder, he still can't stay away from that left-hand side, can he? Back with Benhrama now. Fires the ball into Pablo Fornals, who couldn't quite control it on the run, but he does still keep the ball in play. Goes back towards Lanzini. He's got two Silkeborg players for company. Back to Pablo Fornals. His cross into the box. Does find the head of Mikael Antonio, but he was having to just back off to get his head onto that, and it goes over the bar in the end.
Yeah, it's a fantastic ball in for Benhrama into Fornals initially, isn't it? But Fornals' touch is sort of it was just behind him, and then because that's happened, it allowed the Silkeborg defence to get back in numbers, and then he had to go back for Lanzini, and Lanzini's ball's not bad in, but Antonio's always leaning back, and in the end can never get over the ball, and the ball sails over the bar, really.
Yeah, he wanted to be sort of behind that so he could attack it rather than having to sort of get underneath it, really. Mikael Antonio. But some promising signs for West Ham. 8 minutes on the clock, and they're already starting to gel a little bit in terms of their passing in the final third. And it is with Ben Johnson now over on the right-hand side into Tufau. Plays a ball over the top. West Ham trying to break the offside trap. They don't manage it. The flag goes up straight away as soon as Pablo Fornals takes possession of it at the edge of the area. But I don't think David Moyes will mind that too much, because if West Ham try that 3 or 4 times and it works once, then it should still pay off for them. Yeah,
Silkeborg are actually opting to play quite a high line, aren't they? And I'm not quite sure that plays into their favour or West Ham's. West Ham obviously got pace with the likes of Benhrama and Antonio, and Fornals is always a keen runner in behind, and like you say, if they can just time them runs just once, then it's a real opportunity for West Ham to break the deadlock.
Well, it is. I think we're playing a high line from Silkeborg's point of view. They're probably trying to think that they'll just condense their own half of the pitch, but that only works if it's a completely solid offside line. It only takes one player just to be off that for a split second, and West Ham have got some pace in that front line to try and take advantage as Joel Felix pumps a long ball down the left-hand side, but that's more of a clearance rather than a pass to Helenius. Out for a throw to West Ham now. And Johnson leaving it here for Tufau. Steal a few extra yards there as well. I always say it's the easiest defence to get away with on a football pitch these days, where the throw-ons are better be taken. But West Ham give it away in midfield, and a slightly better touch there from Hellenius back towards Jorgensen. Could have caused problems for West Ham, but the Hammers now do clear the ball down the left-hand side. Here comes Emerson. Inside now towards side Benhrama. A bit of space in front of him, and he finds Tufal on the right-hand side. He tries to get a ball into the box. Too close to Felix, who heads it away back into midfield. Johnson keeps it alive for West Ham. Back to Tufal. Under pressure there from Jorgensen, going back towards the halfway line. And back now with Naif Orged to Ogbonna. Down the left-hand side. Leaves it here for Pablo Fornals, who tries an early ball into Antonio. That one is well cut out, though. Challenge there from Thod Harson, but the ball up towards the halfway line. It's with Jorgensen, and again he couldn't find a teammate. West Ham have some space now down the left-hand side. Pablo Fornals gets into the penalty area, and it's almost like a bit of lack of communication there between him and Antonio, because it looked to Antonio as though Pablo Fornals was going to do it all by himself, and then suddenly he stopped and looked where Antonio was. But I'll get your thought on that in a second, because West Ham have won the ball back very quickly here in midfield. Another chance to get it into the penalty area, but this time it's Klingay who gets in the way, finds Goyani. Now a chance here for Silkeborg, but that is just a chip over the top, at least 10 yards away from Hellenius, and West Ham are back in possession.
Yeah, poor there from Silkeborg, but initially from West Ham it looked a promising opportunity, and Fornals was just running at the back line of Silkeborg, and the defence were backing off, and he took one look to his left, and Antonio was just on the last man, and then Fornals takes an extra couple of touches, and then he looks past the ball to his left where Antonio was, but as you say, Antonio had stopped running, but I'm not quite sure why he'd stopped running, Antonio, because the position he took up, it wasn't really... He was never really going to get
exactly. He could have still been onside and helped Pablo Fornals' frustration there for Antonio, as Emerson just waited too long to pass him. But this time Antonio does get an early ball into the box. Bit of a tight angle, but he tries to turn away from the defender, and he does. He fires it at the near post. Decent save there from Larsen after Antonio had initially twisted away from Tobias Salquist. But on that occasion, West Ham do beat the offside line.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I thought Pablo Fornals might be taking up one of the wide roles, but it looks as if he's been playing in the midfield three, and that ball in behind there to Antonio was inch perfect. Antonio, like you say, evades the tackle of the defender, and then in the end, it's a tame finish because he's got a lot of the goal to aim at, and he opts to go low and hard, which wasn't the wrong decision, but it's right down the middle of the goal, and a comfortable save for Larsen in goal. But West Ham have been very promising in the opening 12 minutes.
They have. You just feel like it's a matter of time before they could be getting their first goal here. West Ham, they've not really tested the keeper, barring that save that Larsen's just made from Antonio. But now a long diagonal ball looking for Tufal down the right-hand side. It was initially headed away by Clinton, but it's straight to Tufal, and now here's side Benhrama into the penalty area. He finds Tufal down the right-hand side, low ball into the box, straight into the knee of Joel Felix, and that goes out for West Ham's first corner kick of the evening. It's taken them 12 and a half minutes, and already slightly more frustrated and angry faces from the Silkeborg players because they just can't get out of their own half at the moment.
They've started really poorly, the Danish side, and we mentioned that if they were to have a good opportunity in this game, they had to start well and really get out West Ham, but West Ham have really neutralised any threat so far, and every time that Silkeborg do get the ball, they have to up long.
Well, it's taken short this time at Pablo Fornals, back to Tufal, and then hooks it towards the back post. And it looks like it was Naif Orged with the effort. Hits it left-footed, but straight into the side netting. West Ham perhaps just guilty of overcomplicating that corner kick a little bit. But now we're going to see this earlier chance here for Antonio. He was onside, and it was Joel Felix that was a step behind the rest of his teammates. And certainly, that was far too easy. It was a good turn from Antonio, but Salquist shouldn't have been turned that easily, really.
No, not at all. I'm not quite sure what he was doing because he knows that Mikael Antonio can only go that way. He showed him onto his left foot. It's a really narrow angle. The only thing Antonio could possibly do there is cut into his right foot and then have a shot. But he actually almost shows him onto his right foot because he commits way too much. And then he's so tight, Antonio can just put the ball through his legs and gets the shot away. So it was poor defending as Fornals wins a free kick. Yeah,
he does. That's referee wanted to give an advantage there because West Ham's still in possession, but Fornals slipped. The ball got away from him. So there is no advantage. West Ham have a free kick, but it's such a central position. It's going to be so obvious to the Silkeborg defenders and goalkeeper. If Lanzini just pumps this long, there's going to have to be a little bit of variation on this from the Argentine. Silkeborg have set up at the edge of the penalty area with their offside. As Hellenius, the captain, is back trying to mark Antonio. It's played short to Emerson. He then puts the ball in at left foot. A bit of an angle aiming at his fellow compatriot there, Ogbonna. I think he might have just collided with the Silkeborg defender there, Ogbonna, but he heads it wide anyway.
It's not a bad ball in from Emerson at all. It's quite cleverly worked from West Ham. The one from the training ground there, and in the end, it's good defending from, not quite sure it was. I think it might be Joel Felix who with the defensive efforts there. He's really tight to Ogbonna. Ogbonna does get above his man, but in the end, it's not quite a clean contact. Comes off his shoulder and behind for a goal kick. But yeah, West Ham right in the ascendancy at the moment.
Yeah, they are, and that was a good ball from Emerson because, as we said, it was pretty much central. There wasn't really much of an angle to work with, but he still got a ball into Ogbonna. Silkeborg play out from the back, and it is with the Salquist up towards the halfway line. Tengsted back towards Ostrom. And this is all the possession that Silkeborg have had so far in this game. It's been inside their own half. West Ham pressing, trying to win it back. They almost did it, deflected off Pablo Fornals, and then Lanzini very nearly won it back for West Ham before Silkeborg just clear it. But that must be demoralising to the players as well, that there's 50 minutes on the clock and all they can do is clear it from the edge of their own box over the halfway line. They just wait for the next West Ham attack, and they're not, it's not like they're sort of been overrun. It's just they can't come out of their own half at the moment.
That was really poor from Forderson there, because they played their way out of the press momentarily. Forderson's got a bit of time and a bit of space. Perhaps he didn't get a shout, but his first option was just his first thought in his head was just to knock it long, and then there's no one up there, and Agar can get West Ham going again. But you see Silkeborg on the ball here. They've got to be brave on the ball. I'm not quite sure what Nielsen said to him before the game, but one thing he's got to reinforce is they've got to be brave on the ball, and West Ham are going to press them. If he can play through the press, there's going to be opportunities for them, but at the moment they're just forcing the ball and going long, and it's not working for them.
They've got to be a little bit more patient because, as you said, that they certainly caused problems for West Ham in the reverse fixture, so it's not like they should feel completely overawed by playing here at the London Stadium. We saw shots of the away end. There's a decent crowd in as well who've made the journey from Denmark, so they should be a little bit more motivated, but it may just be that thought of we can't concede first is the only thing that sort of stayed in the players' mind, and as I say, they've been pretty close to conceding already, albeit not too many saves for Nikolai Larsen to make, but certainly plenty of work for his defenders. As now Silkeborg do slowly edge forward. They've won themselves a throw heading towards the West Ham penalty area. It is with Lucas Klitten down the left-hand side. Gets the ball into Goyani, back to Klitten. Goyani again, trying to exchange a quick pass here down the left-hand side as Jorgensen's involved in this as well. The ball then deflects off the corner flag and away for a goal kick. A bit of misfortune there for Silkeborg, but it really is. That's all we can say about their attack so far. It's been a little bit of possession inside the West Ham half. Nothing for Areola to do at all yet.
That was a bit better from Silkeborg. They were trying to play in the neat 1-2s in the triangles, but in the end, they're all so tight to each other. They couldn't really get an effective pass out. I'd just like to see Helenius more involved. He's got 5 goals already this season. He clearly knows where the back of the net is. Jorgensen as well. He's got 6. So these players know how to score goals, and Helenius, he doesn't know the most mobile of strikers. It seems like he needs the ball in his feet.
Here come West Ham though, for trying to get the ball down the left-hand side. Benhrama's ball looking for Antonio, headed away, and still inside the penalty area. Fornals heads it down. I think he was trying to get that ball into Emerson, but goalkeeper Larsen off his line quickly, makes the save and just tries to calm things down at the edge of his own penalty area. He rolls it though straight to Salquist, so it's certainly Silkeborg attracting a bit of this pressure from West Ham. But that's good work, very good work to bring that ball out there in midfield there from Goyani. It's played forward now down the right-hand side. Klingate up towards Helenius, headed away back into midfield as Fornals tries to start a run there for West Ham. He runs straight into Robert Goyani, and it's now with Klitten down the left. As Silkeborg desperate to try and keep a bit of attacking possession here inside the West Ham half. But West Ham, in fairness, they've returned the favour. They're playing a very high offside line as well. Silkeborg were only just crossing the halfway line, and the West Ham defenders were already about 20 yards away from them, so it really was very little space to work with. Felix's ball now down the left-hand side, eludes everybody, and it's back with 2 fouls. So the little baby steps here from Silkeborg, but they still can't really trouble that West Ham defence.
They're just starting to get more of a foothold on the ball, aren't they? But it's interesting there, you've mentioned the high line of West Ham. I feel like that could be something that David Moyes has seen early on. He's seen Silkeborg afraid in possession, if anything, and they think, well, if we can get onto these here and play a high line, there's going to be mistakes that are going to be made, and we can win the ball high at the pitch and create an opportunity. And that's the damage that Silkeborg are doing to themselves for not being.
No, you're absolutely right. Why give them all that space to try and get into possession? If they're struggling to get into possession, make it even, condense it even more, and that certainly seems to be working for West Ham. As here comes Lanzini now, trying to burst through 2 Silkeborg players. They just couldn't quite find the space. It's cleared back into midfield. Areola probably getting a little bit bored inside the West Ham penalty area. Steps out way into his half there just to try and clear the ball up towards the halfway line. 19 minutes gone, independent off Tube Studio commentary. It is goalless between West Ham and Silkeborg. Game from the London Stadium. UEFA Conference League Group B is Vladimir Tufau now playing it back towards the halfway line. Augerd square to Ogbonna. I'm just trying to see where Ben Johnson is now. I think he's still over on the right-hand side. They really are trying to mix it up in defence a little bit here, West Ham, this evening. Johnson just seems to have disappeared from view. He's now gone over onto the right-hand side. So this may well be something that David Moyes has said to his players, that he's going to want to get maybe Tufau playing at centre-back for 10 minutes and Johnson pushing forward. A long ball over the top now here for Fornals. He does really well to control that and then play it out towards Benhrama on the right-hand side. Benrama's ball at the edge of the area, taken down by Coventry, takes a touch, takes a shot, and it goes wide. Such a shame, because he had confidence there, Connor Coventry, took a touch and really steadied himself to get that shot away, but in the end it goes wide. Yeah,
the young man's got a rare start in the midfield for West Ham, his boyhood club, and almost a dream start for him here in European competition. Benrama finds him really well, and Coventry just fakes the shoot, cuts inside of Goyani, does him with that little dummy, and in the end, as you say, the shot's just wide, and Larsen was really struggling there, wasn't he? He was rooted to the spot.
He was. I just wonder if that second touch from Coventry perhaps gave the ball a bit too much bounce than he wanted, because I think he angled it a little bit too far away from the goalkeeper. If it had just stayed a bit lower for him, maybe that very same shot would have had more chance of being on target. But again, that's a good response from West Ham after a few minutes where Silkeborg was slowly getting in some sort of possession. Frustration here now for the visitors, as Soren Tengsted gives away a free kick just as his side looked to be getting into possession. The free kick goes West Ham's way. That's a really good ball from Ogbonna, but that's also well played by the goalkeeper Larsen. Just a little bit too much pace on that pass from Angelo Ogbonna, and the goalkeeper comes out to make it sure it goes out for a goalkeeper. 21 minutes on the clock. I think David Moyes will be fairly pleased. I think he's obviously always expecting more from his team, so he would have liked his side with this kind of advantage to have taken the lead by now. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like you say, West Ham have dominated the early proceedings of this game, but they haven't really tested Larsen too much, have they? Antonio's probably come the closest as Silkeborg almost played.
Very close there, just being a little bit too laid back was Stefan Thord-Harsen there at the inside his own penalty area. The ball eventually is cleared, but good pressing there from Coventry trying to win the ball back. And here come Silkeborg now, at least trying to get the ball away from their own penalty area. Klinge's ball forward is taken down. Goyani now back to Anders Klingé. Side now, Thord-Harsen on the left-hand side. Again, West Ham trying to play as high and offside line as they can. Silkeborg slowly creeping forward, but again, not finding any space. Having to go back towards the halfway line now. Ball is with Klingé, looks up, and then just decides to go back towards Goyani. Visitors still in possession, but they're not really able to make any real progress into the West Ham half. They've gone back into their own half now, as Felix in towards Klingate, pressing here from Coventry and from Pablo Fornals. But it just seems as though they're devoid of ideas at the moment here, the visitors.
It's just a really good pressure from West Ham at the moment, isn't it? Every time Silkeborg look to try and make inroads, West Ham players are straight on that first touch, and in the end it's forced them back, as we see again. Larsen's now got the ball, and Guyan, like I've said earlier, Silkeborg got to try and play through this West Ham press, because that will be their best opportunity of creating opportunities. Same in the reverse fixture in Denmark, when they played through the West Ham press, they did create opportunities.
Well, here come West Ham now as Antonio swapping passes with Benrama. The ball back from Benrama. Antonio on the line. Was he brought down? The referee says penalty. Well, West Ham certainly won't complain. The referee's already speaking into his mouthpiece there, so potentially asking VAR to have a look at it, because although there is contact between Antonio and the goalkeeper, I have a feeling that Antonio was pretty much on the line and going out of play himself when he makes contact with the goalkeeper. I'm just wondering if VAR is going to save Larsen here, or is this going to be a nailed-on penalty, do you think?
I think if Larsen's made contact here, he's been a very, very silly boy, because as you say, Antonio's going absolutely nowhere. The ball's going off, and it's hard to see from that angle if there is contact. But like I said, the ball is definitely going out, and that's a dive. That's a dive.
Is it the old Vardy trick of leaving your leg out for an opposition? Well, he's not really done. He sort of tried to clip the goalkeeper there, and then does a bit of a dive.
Antonio's already going over beforehand.
Yeah, I think the referee's been sold one there, and he's bought it as well. So it's going to be Manuel Lanzini now with the chance to give West Ham the lead here on 24 minutes. Lanzini steps up, and the keeper guesses the right way, but it's a really powerful and precise penalty from Manuel Lanzini, and West Ham take the lead on 24 minutes. We've gone past the halfway mark in this game. It is West Ham 1, Silkeborg 0. It will be Ben to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, Silkeborg will feel hard done by there, but West Ham will know that they've deserved this lead, and this to the delight of the home fans. West Ham lead at the London Stadium. A really good penalty from Lanzini. Larsen goes the right way, but in the end it's the placement that's beaten. There was no real power behind it from Lanzini, but it's right in the bottom corner, and Larsen goes the right way. Lanzini shows him the whole way where he's going to go, doesn't he? Opens up his body, puts it into that right bottom corner, but I tell you what, it couldn't be placed any better, could it, Paul?
No, it couldn't. I think that, as I say, we're obviously going to be partisan towards the English side, but I do think that there is a little bit of controversy about the penalty because, to me, there didn't seem to be that much contact, and as I say, it's one of those where we've just seen that there's no VAR for the Conference League, is there?
Only VAR in the semi-finals and the final competition, which is why we didn't see the VAR review there. And interesting one, really, whether the VAR would have had a look at that and possibly overturned it. Not quite sure it was a clear and obvious error, but as you say, Antonio, he knew what he was doing.
I think you're right. It's one of those where the keeper has come out and he's not got the ball. So even if there is the slightest contact with Antonio, you could argue that it's always going to be given as a penalty. But Silkeborg already up against it, 0-0, really have got some work to do now.
They have indeed, and they know that only a win today would secure their qualification after Anderlecht dropped points earlier. But the win might be far away. It was Benhrama really could have played in Pablo Fornals there, but it's a really poor ball from the Algerian, and Silkeborg just about hanging on, but their clearance goes only as far as Vladimir Soufal, and the Czech fullback will now run himself down the right-hand side. It's good defending this time from Silkeborg, and they win the ball back well, but they need to be braver in possession, as I've already mentioned, but this time again they give the ball away sloppily towards Lanzini, and Benrama's blocked the clearance, and Fornals has just about got there ahead of Larsen. Fornals cuts it back for Mikael Antonio, but the referee's flag is up for offside against Manuel Lanzini there, but Silkeborg are really architects of their own downfall at the moment, Paul.
They are, yeah. I mean, they're already a little bit uneasy when West Ham were starting the game so strongly, but now having conceded, you can just tell that they're going to be probably even more nervy to try and get rid of this ball as quickly as possible, and as a result of that, potentially they won't be holding on to possession and making it far too easy for West Ham.
They are, and it's 26 minutes played at London Stadium, and Silkeborg yet to register a touch in West Ham's box, and it haven't really looked dangerous at all. I can't remember if they had a shot. No, I don't think they have.
They've not had an effort at all, no, but now they've won the ball back.
Angelo Bonner really mistimed his header there, and now Tengstad can bring the ball forward towards Clitton. Clitton to Klingay. Klingay shot, left-footed strike, hit well, but straight into the arms of Alphonse Areola. But that, just so I was saying, they've not registered a shot. They get a shot on target, and all too easy there for Silkeborg, and poor from West Ham.
Yeah, it was a little bit. The midfield just seemed to open up a little bit there for Silkeborg. That's something that David Moyes won't be too pleased about. His side don't want to encourage the visitors to start getting a bit more confidence. But certainly, yeah, that's a warning for West Ham that 1-0 is never going to be enough. They've got to try and get that second and third goal just to make sure that the game is put to bed.
They don't want to be getting complacent here, the Hammers, and they've already invited Silkeborg forward with a bit more confidence, as the Danish opposition needed it because they've really struggled in the opening 27 minutes of this game, as Goyani's tackled well there by Conor Coventry, and what an opportunity it is for Coventry today. Of course, 22 years old, been at West Ham United for 12 years since he was 10 years old, various loan spells with Lincoln City, Peterborough United and Milton Keynes Dons before now playing his trade for his boyhood club in the first team in Europe as well, so big opportunity for that midfielder, as it is for Flynn Downs, who's broken to the first team this season and played a big part in West Ham's European campaign so far. He's on the bench today, incidentally, as Felix now has the ball for Silkeborg, and Felix can find Clitton, his fullback. Clitton all the way back to Felix, and West Ham happy to let Silkeborg have the ball here.
Yeah, if they're going to sit back in their own half, West Ham will feel very confident. But you mentioned, I mean, there's a good thread of former youth players in the West Ham squad this evening and in their Premier League games. Well, of course, Declan Rice springs to mind straight away. Mark Noble, of course, just retired, one club man as well. But I think that it's certainly a club where if you are a youth player, you know that you are going to get your chances, because David Moyes does like to get a couple of youth players into the team, and it's paid off. You look at someone like Ben Johnson as well, who's looking very good.
Yeah, West Ham, of course, one of the best academies in the world, really, and a great place to be for youngsters when your manager's going to give you the opportunity, especially in Europe. As a lovely through ball's played in there from João Felix towards Helenius, and Helenius running on the end of this, but really good from Airguard, the debutant for West Ham, just to stand him up and put the ball out for a throw. But some good yards made from the Danish side, and they have a throw-in now with Clitton in possession, and Clitton finds Klingay, and Klingay will find Goyani. Goyani will look to switch of play towards Robin Ostrom. Can Ostrom win that header ahead of Emerson? He can, but only into the hands of Areola. But just signs that Silkeborg are starting to grow into the game.
They are, but is that down to them suddenly improving, or is that down to West Ham perhaps taking their foot off the gas, having scored the first goal? I just think that perhaps David Moyes would like his side just to sharpen up a little bit, because the last couple of Silkeborg moves have been allowed because West Ham have just sat off the midfield a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and West Ham will be frustrated with that, and David Moyes will be as well, because it's like he's spoken about, their side needs to be more ruthless when they go a goal ahead. Sometimes they do get a bit complacent and just tend to drop off, and that's not what David Moyes wants with his team. You see it against Bournemouth as well. In the end, they did get that second goal, but it was at stoppage time in the end, wasn't it? And it was a game they dominated for large portions, but they just didn't quite have that ruthless side to their game. And I'm sure David Moyes would just like his side to add that and start putting teams away, before the 92nd minute, as Silkeborg are just retaining possession quite nicely here and playing through the West Ham press. And this will please Kent Nielsen, the Silkeborg coach, as Larsen finds Goiani, who's dropped really deep to pick up possession of the ball here, and Goiani hasn't really got a lot ahead of him, and in the end he finds a really nice outball towards Olstrom, and Olstrom will find Ford Larsen, the Icelandic international, back to his full-back Olsen, but again West Ham win the ball back well, but only as far as Goiani, but Goiani's giving the ball away really poorly towards Benhrama. Can Benhrama just about poke this through to Antonio? He can. Antonio leaves it. Benhrama strikes it over the bar. But again, Silkeborg giving the ball away, in trying to play out from the back. And again, West Ham are onto him. But this time, Benhrama cannot make them punish.
Well, that's what West Ham have to do. Just a little bit more urgency. It's a loose ball there from Goiani straight into Benhrama. And I thought he might have got a nick off the defender there as well as he was hitting that Benhrama. But even so, I think that Antonio probably did the right thing because Benhrama was on the run there, so it made sense that he would have the shot. But in the end, just goes over the bar. It wasn't the best effort.
Olsen finds Goiani. Goiani finds Tengsted, who scored in the reverse fixture, of course. But he's attempted through ball into Helenius is a bad one. And Ben Johnson, who's back in that central defender role again, picks up the ball and he finds Vladimir Soufal. And Silkeborg just trying to press a bit higher, but West Ham can easily play through that press. But Antonio's tussled with Joel Felix, and referee said there's no doing there. And Silkeborg will pick up the ball again as Felix finds Goiani in the centre of the park. But again, there's not a lot of movement in blue ahead of Goiani, and his ball just about finds Klingay, and Klingay will find Joel Felix, and Felix will find Fulderson back to Felix towards Klingay. But it's just not a lot of movement for Silkeborg at the moment. They're starting to pick up more possession, Paul, but they're not really making any inroads, are they?
They're not. They are seeing more of the ball, but barring those two chances they had where they just managed to range forward a little bit, the rest of the time it's all sort of halfway line possession back towards their own penalty area, and can't really make any inroads. That was a good ball taken down here by Tengsted. They got a chance down the right-hand side.
Yeah, they have with Robin Olstrom. A really good bit of control there from Tengsted, and he finds Olstrom. But again, West Ham look pretty solid in their shape, a typical David Moyes structure, and again they've had to try and force a long ball through Fulderson, but Silkeborg will retain possession here with Goiani, and Goiani will look towards Helenius. Helenius' first touch is just a really bad one, but Ogbona's hacked clearance is just about kept in by Emerson, almost bound for a corner there, and Ogbona's just had a couple of shaky moments in that left-back role, probably because it's unfamiliar to him more than anything, as Conor Coventry finds Emerson. Emerson back to his captain Ogbonna, across to Aagaard, making his West Ham debut after being injured in pre-season against Rangers. 3 months he spent on the sidelines, but eager to get going. He's spoken about as Antonio's driving forward now with the Silkeborg defence backing off. He has Soufal in support. Soufal, first time right foot across towards the back post, towards Pablo Fornals, whose header is a real comfortable one. There was no real power on it, and straight into the hands of Larsen, but good play there from West Ham.
No, he's guiding that towards the goal. He's not really been able to generate any power there, Pablo Fornals, so it's always going to be a textbook routine save there for Nikolai Larsen. But a good response from West Ham after those few moments from Silkeborg. West Ham just starting to find their feet going forward, and they know that there's always a mistake in that Silkeborg defence. As long as they press, they should be able to get the ball back.
Felix just has to go long, and it's straight to Areola, and West Ham will come again, and that's what Silkeborg have got to avoid. In the last couple of minutes, they've avoided doing that, and they've been braver and tried to play through this West Ham press, but this time Joel Felix didn't fancy it, and he's gone long, and now West Ham can go again. And this is how West Ham got the opening goal. Just that relentless pressure was always going to end up in a goal, and it looks as if Silkeborg had just sort of changed their game plan a bit and tried to play with the ball, but going long again here, and West Ham will just have comfortable possession with their back line and with Ogbonna, who finds Aagaard, and Aagaard.
Well, I think that the one issue we could say straight away is you can see West Ham, the back line are in possession now. The defenders are in possession and they've got the ball by the halfway line. When the Silkeborg defenders are in possession, they're inside their own penalty area. They can't push out as a team, and that's what West Ham have done very well since the start. They've dominated in terms of how they position themselves on the field, and it means that Silkeborg are on the back foot straight away. Just as I say that, they are pressing a little bit, but it's an easy clearance from Areola, and that I think is something that Ken Nielsen's got to try and fix for his side, that they're just not able to put that kind of pressure on West Ham.
Benhrama does really well to nip in there ahead of Southwest, and Southwest looked in a bit of pain there actually with that challenge of Benhrama. And now Benhrama will have the ball when he whips the ball in. João Felix is not very good clearance there, and it's only as far as Emerson. Emerson's ball in behind for Fornals, and Fornals couldn't quite get on it. It was just overhit from Emerson, and Fornals applauds the efforts of his Italian colleague, but in the end the ball goes behind for a goal kick. But just shaky defensively, Silkeborg, when balls are into the box as well, they're not really dealing with them, are they? They're slicing a few clearances.
They're not, and I'm surprised because they've got two big units as their centre-backs. I mean, Salquist is very tall, and Joel Felix looks quite a stocky defender as well. And that said, Klitzen and Ostrom, the two wide defenders, aren't exactly small either, but they just seem to be overrun a little bit every time West Ham go forward. And from David Moyes' point of view, I think he'd love a second goal before half-time just to completely put the opposition to bed here, I think.
Yeah, of course, Silkeborg, they'll be looking for a result from this game. We've seen Anderlecht and FCSB, of course, draw earlier 2-2. That was a 5:45 kick-off, and they really fancy themselves now. They're on 6 points. Anderlecht are on 5. West Ham, as it stands, are on 15. So they're home and hosed and through to the round of 16 as it stands. Even with a point today, the Hammers will be straight directly into the round of 16 and avoiding that dreaded playoff fixture, which, of course, means an extra game. So David Moyes will be very happy if his side can get the job done over the line today, as Fornals finds Connor Coventry, and Connor Coventry looks for a long rake-in switch. It's not a bad effort at all. It's a really good one towards Vladimir Soufal, but Soufal couldn't quite bring it down. He tries to head it towards Benhrama, and it's hacked clear by Joao Felix, but only as far as Connor Coventry, who's looped the ball towards Soufal. Soufal brings it down with his head to Ben Johnson. It's a lovely little ball from Ben Johnson, who finds Lanzini. Lanzini's not got much on. He's found a lovely ball in behind for Soufal, and Soufal's his right foot across towards the head of Benhrama, and just wide from the Algerian. He's on a good bit of goal scoring form this season. Side Benhrama really starting to find his feet in West Ham colours, and almost there added another goal to his tally.
Yeah, frustration there for Benhrama. Frustration for West Ham because without being too harsh on Benhrama, I'd like to think that if Antonio stood in exactly the same position with that cross, I think he probably gets it on target. But Benhrama, he's not the worst in the air, but it's not his first ability, is it? And he drags that header wide in the end, and you can see David Moyes' head in his hands. He knows that was a good chance for his side to be 2 up before half-time.
He knows his team's on top here, David Moyes, as well. He wants them to be ruthless, as I've mentioned, and really put them to the sword, and he might just do that here. As Said Benrahma's in behind, he's broke the lines. He's got Antonio in support. Can he find him? In the air, he tried to cut it back towards Pablo Fornals, but wasn't quite on, and Goiani can bring the ball out now for Silkeborg. Goiani finds Fogderson down the line as he finds Klinge, and Klinge finds Helenius, and I think Klinge was brought down there by Vladimir Soufal. I'm not quite sure the referee might caution Soufal here.
Well, referee was looking at, I think he was a bit confused with the ref because I think he just stopped the game and pointed it towards the Silkeborg goal as if it's to say if it was a West Ham free kick. It clearly wasn't. I think it's the challenge from Coventry that he didn't like, and it looks like the youngster's going to get a booking here as well.
Yeah, Connor Coventry just a bit overzealous there to win the ball back. It was quite late, in fairness, and probably the right decision from the referee.
I think so. I think that after 37 minutes, you could never say this game's been played aggressively. I think both sides have played the game well. There's not been any kind of underlying aggressiveness or excessive aggressiveness, but maybe just because of that, the referee wants to rein it in straight away, and a yellow card for Coventry just to calm him down. We'd actually see David Moyes just saying calm down to Coventry there as well.
Yeah, just one of those things, isn't it? A youngster who's not played many minutes for West Ham. He's trying to impress every time, wants to win the ball back every time he can, and sometimes it's just a bit overzealous into a tackle, and in the end he was there as Klinge looks to again go forward, but it's just a hopeless ball. We didn't really look up, and Areola can have possession of the ball towards Soufal.
Well, it's under the microscope even more here for Silkeborg when they give a ball away like that, because they've got so little attacking possession. Those few occasions when they can send a good through ball or a good ball over the top, they're wasting those, and it just becomes even more obvious that they're just nowhere near the level they need to be to really trouble West Ham.
38 minutes played at the London Stadium. West Ham United 1, Silkeborg 0. West Ham, of course, prior to today, 4 wins from 4 games, looking to make it a perfect 5 from 5, and David Moyes has got a brilliant record at West Ham in group stages in European competition. Never lost, of course, and we're looking to maintain that. And he's on course to maintain that this evening in London as West Ham lead by 1-0 through Manuel Lanzini's penalty, as Silkeborg just got deep possession of the ball at the moment with Salquist, and he's had to opt to go long towards his captain, Helenius, but Agard again nips in ahead of him, but his header only goes as far as Goiani, and Goiani can find Klinge. Helenius has made a run in behind. Not quite sure that's going to be his forte, though, the big, tall striker, and Klinge will avoid that option and find Goiani, who finds Fogderson. Back to Klinge. Silkeborg now looking to try and find an opening and really test Alphonse Areola for the first time. But at the moment, they're just being patient on the ball, but this is what me and Paul wanted to see, a bit more of the Danish side. Don't need to force initiative with only 39 minutes played, as Goiani finds Klinge. Klinge now, as Silkeborg have a man over, it's Fogderson. Can he get a ball in? It's not a bad ball at all, but there's no one actually in there, and Helenius didn't really gamble because It was fizzed across the face of goal from Fogderson, but Emerson can just about keep it on, and a real chance there actually.
That is a chance. It's a good ball in from Thorgerson down the left-hand side. Probably just a little bit too far away from Hellenius for him to really attack it. But I agree with you. I think he should have probably gambled and made himself that little bit more available inside the 6-yard box.
Ogbonna finds Lanzini. Can West Ham now reply in response? Ogbonna hasn't really got a lot going forward, and he'll just find Manuel Lanzini, who's comfortable on the ball, and West Ham will knock it about. And West Ham have been really good at this in the opening 40 minutes, just really patient on the ball and waiting for the openings to come, and they've come quite often at the moment because Silkeborg's defence just have been found wanting at times, and Vladimir Soufal there, it's a poor ball but gets away with it because Hellenius gets a toe in, but in the end it just finds its way to Airguard, who finds Lanzini, who finds Fornals. Emerson on the ball on the left-hand side now, and he'll find his captain for the evening, Angelo Ogbonna, of course. Declan Rice not in the 11 today. David Moyes opted to rest a few players, knowing his side has already qualified, as Emerson opted in that midfield role, as he has done in all of West Ham's other 4 European games so far, and he finds Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson really high up the pitch at the moment, the West Ham centre-back. He's actually overlapping Soufal here as well, but Soufal opts for the cross. Antonio gets up there, but it's a really good header away from Salqui, so only as far as Ogbonna, and West Ham really high up the pitch at the moment, aren't they? All but Aguard and Areola in the Silkeborg half, as Ben Johnson picks up the ball and he finds Soufal wide right, and Soufal hasn't really got a lot on. It's a good block from Kitten, but Kitten's attempted block finds Soufal again, and Soufal finds Connor Coventry to Sai Benhrama on the right-hand side of Benhrama, links well with Soufal. Then he looks to find the pass of Mikael Antonio, but Antonio was making a run instead, so wasn't even looking where Benhrama was and didn't even know the ball was played to him.
Well, it looked quite comical because it was such a short pass. It was only 2 or 3 yards away from Antonio, but he was literally looking the other way, didn't even see where the ball was. And yeah, a little bit comical the way that West Ham lost the ball there. But they're trying to make a bit of an impact towards the end of this half. Perhaps those a couple of half chances for Silkeborg have just woken up the Hammers here, that they still have a job to do to make sure they win the game this evening.
Antonio looks to power past Salquis, but Salquis sticks to his task well and puts the ball behind for a West Ham corner. 41.5 minutes played. Can West Ham United double their lead before half-time? We're on a stroke of half-time right now, and I think that second goal before half-time would really
it'd be ideal. I think David Moyes would argue that his side have deserved it. They've probably had enough attacking possession and half chances and decent chances to be 2 up. The corner kick's taken short. It's whipped in from that left-hand side, and I think there may have been an offside after that initial corner kick was taken short. The Silkeborg defenders, in fairness to them, moved forward, and by the time the cross was put in, everyone was offside.
Yeah, really good line for the Danish side. Actually, West Ham thinking really quick, but Antonio was offside. He was actually caught sleeping because Silkeborg stepped up so quick. Antonio was not really ready for the quick corner routine, and in the end, he's well offside. A good decision from the linesman and a good line from Silkeborg, and end of that set piece.
Well, I'm quite traditional. I prefer teams to just whip the ball in at pace, put the goalkeeper and the defenders under pressure, make a decision. As soon as you start taking short corners and short balls, then people can push out. You can be offside. And sometimes I think, particularly these days, most keepers are instructed to punch rather than catch. Yeah. So you've always got half a chance, I think, if you just put them under pressure. Obviously, if you do that every time, it'll be pretty obvious. But occasionally, I think teams should just put a ball in and put that keeper under pressure.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more of a regular thing, though, isn't it, Paul? Across England, specifically the short corner routine. I've seen a lot of teams do it now. And
so many. I mean, the out-swinging corner that then goes out before it even reaches the penalty area, the one named at the near post which hits the side netting. There's too many set pieces wasted, I think, and sometimes you just want to put that ball into the box and get one of your tall players to try and go after it. But certainly a bit better this from West Ham. They had a little spell there where they're having to sit back a little bit inside their own half, but now it looks like they're ending the first half pretty strongly.
Just over 43 minutes played at the London Stadium, and West Ham, they've got the lead through the Manuel Lanzini penalty, and they'll be happy with that. David Moyes will be happy with that, and I'm sure he'll be happy with this opening 43 minutes. Of course, he's made a host of changes from the side that beat Bournemouth on Monday night, and they've got a big game against Manchester United on Sunday, so they'll be looking one eye to that, but making sure the job's done this evening first, so that's the most important thing, and it's not done yet, because 1-0 is a fragile scoreline, as they've already seen a couple of times when Silkeborg have come forward, as Manchester United have just taken the lead at Old Trafford against Sheriff Tiraspol in their Europa League game. It's Diego Dalot with that goal. Their rare goal for the Portuguese fullback, as Emerson now brings the ball forward and he finds Connor Coventry back to Lanzini. Lanzini's long raking switch looks a really good one actually, and it is, and Vladimir Soufal brings that down well. Soufal back to Ben Johnson, who whips the ball in. Can Antonio get on the end of this? Overhead kick, acrobatic effort, and it's safely into the hands, of Nikolai Larsen, but Yeah, good ball in that for Ben Johnson, but it's just behind Antonio, wasn't it? A difficult one for him, really, as Silkeborg played their way into trouble again here towards Pablo Fornals. Benhrama near the box, left-footed shot. Really tame effort from the Algerian. Had a bit of room there in the Silkeborg penalty area, and in the end, his curling effort can only find the hands of Mikael Antonio.
Yeah, that's the trouble. It wasn't a curling effort. It was meant to be a curling effort, but it ended up being a fairly flat shot there from Benhrama. But what are Silkeborg doing here? They actually get the ball back after Antonio's attempted overhead kick, roll it out towards the edge of their own box, give it away almost immediately, and they've been let off a few times. I mean, I think we both agree they're probably a little bit unlucky to concede the penalty, but then they're probably lucky not to have conceded in a few other phases of play in this game, really.
Yeah, really poor from Silkeborg there, and it's just getting that fine line, isn't it, of being brave in possession, but also not being silly, and that pass from Larsen was really ambitious, and when you're putting high, sort of floaty balls to your fullbacks, there's always the opportunity. As the half-time whistle has blown now at the London Stadium, and it is West Ham that lead, and thoroughly deserved, and it's the Manuel Lanzini penalty. A controversial decision, really, but in the end, no VAR, of course, in order in the Europa Conference League, meant that Lanzini stepped up and stroked his penalty past Mikael Larsen, and that's why the scoreline is West Ham 1, Silkeborg 0.